I'm kind of just doing all sorts of things today. I am going to pot up a planter that can go outside on their deck railing with you guys. I make my own soil mix, and so it's got a lot of different things in here. Sometimes I'll bake my soil if it's been used before. I'm not going to do that with this, but I'll tell you what's in here. I've got I've got Lego balls in here, which help with moisture control. Sometimes I feel like it holds in almost too much moisture with these for some reason. Yeah, either that or I'm imagining things. I've got some cocoa chips in here, peat moss, perlite. I've got bigger perlite and smaller perlite in here. And then also I have orchid bark, but I actually get pine bark. A lot of times, sometimes though the pine bark's a little bit too big, but it's basically what's used a lot of times in orchid bark mix anyways. I hear my cat trying to get out. She's in with her kittens and she's funny. She likes me to babysit sometimes and she's trying to open the door. She will literally open the door if I don't go open it. So I might have to do that. But for now, my allergies have been really bad so far in March. So I'm gonna amend it a little bit. I already amended it a little bit with some other soil, but I'm gonna put a bunch of plants in here, but this is Super Thrive. It smells terrible, but I love this stuff. It's great. It's super natural. I think I'm gonna go let her out, so just bear with me for just a second. All right, I'm back. I just had to let her out because she starts trying to open the door. She really can open the door. It's funny, but all right. So I'm gonna go ahead, and what I did is I just took a bunch of propagations that I had in different plants that I thought might be good to put in here. And the first one I have is a Burl Marks. This is pretty well established. There's also a Swiss cheese plant and a Purple Night. This is one that I just potted up from propagation, so it doesn't look the best, but it looks okay. You know, when you have propagations, it does take sometimes a little while for them to get established, and if you give them high humidity, they can look really great with these Frankenstein pots, especially where you're mixing lots of different things. But you just have to understand, when you first pot them up, it's going to look terrible. It's going to look, well, usually it does anyways. And then there's an adjustment period too. They will start drooping. Some will die back a bit. And so don't give up on it though. The biggest thing you have to watch for really is root rot. So you want to make sure you're not putting it in too big of a pot. I had just potted this probably just recently, I feel like, because these were propagations that already had roots in it. But it's been doing great. Honestly, I wouldn't probably guess that this was just potted up, because a lot of times when you just pot up propagations, especially if you're not giving them super high humidity, which I wasn't with this, they won't look this great. So that really has a lot to do with how well established the actual roots are from the propagations. So I decided I'm gonna go ahead and put this one, the whole thing though, in this pot here. So you can see too, look at these roots. That's probably why it's doing so well, because the roots are they were really well established. This gives me a second here too though to take off if there's any kind of roots that are kind of not looking so hot. And let's see here, there are a few that I don't like the way they look. I am going to put this, I don't know what that was. So you can see how the roots, they look really great there. So that's why it was probably doing so well. I am going to put this probably on the side over here, because Burl Marks has a tendency to trail and it can get very leggy looking. Try to scantia, the Purple Night gets really big. It likes a lot, really bright light. It will do really well, especially outside if you plant it just in your garden boxes, or, you know, and if you need some, what we call annuals, right? It's a great one to have. And honestly, I look at it like this. We grow a lot of plants that are seen by some people who garden more outdoors. We grow a lot of plants as indoor plants that actually can work well as outdoor plants during the season. And I do that a lot with the Tradescantia, especially because it works really well. I do it a lot with the begonias, and I still buy, you know, plants to put outside, but it does save money doing that. My original love, sorry I'm coughing so much, I feel like today my allergies are terrible. My original love is, well, it will always be outdoor plants before indoor. Hands down, most important. When I first went to school a gazillion years ago, my first major was landscaping architecture, and that was at Arizona State. So I was really into that. Always loved it. I've been gardening outside, landscaping since I was like 5. Like, it sounds crazy, but my mom, she loved that. You know, I was an 80s kid, and she just would always bring me with her and like just have me like help her. So I did that. And then I changed it. I didn't like the architecture part, the drafting part of landscaping architecture, so I actually changed it to botany in my first major, and then I ended up later on going completely different direction. So I got my first degree in something completely different, and then I was like, okay, there's no money in this, and then I got my second degree in something that I could be able to do a little bit better with as far as having stability and all of that. But I don't look back and regret any of it. I'm glad I did all of it, and I still just treat, I probably need to amend this a little bit more. I just still treat any kind of gardening or landscaping and all of that, I treat it like, you know, it kind of is like, I'm glad I didn't actually do it for a job, because I feel like sometimes when you do certain things as a job, like, it can get old. And I actually like am really big about following whatever my feelings are. And so you know, sometimes I'm a big planner. I am a big planner. I do like to make sure that I got a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, all of that. But sometimes though, I jump and I don't have a plan exactly. And sometimes those have been the best decisions that I've made in my life. And so I'm trying to, as I get older, I have kind of a balance of that. And just even like coming up, I don't know if you guys have any exciting changes in your life, but I've got a lot of things that I decided to make changes with, and I'm happy I did, or happy that I am. And maybe I'll talk more about those later on, but not today. But definitely making changes in your life, I think you should always be open to that. And sometimes I think we worry about having too many plans and figuring out, you know, how things are going to work out. And sometimes you just got to jump. And yeah, that's my philosophy anyways. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to put in here, I put a burl marks. I do feel like this needs a little bit more perlite because it's starting to get a little bit, if you look at the soil, it's starting to get a little bit, not soggier, but just not quite as bulky. So I could probably use more cocoa chips, but I'm gonna go run and I'm going to go get really quickly here some perlite. Okay, a little bit of perlite. I'm kind of running low on some of my amendments. I never run low on my amendments. I've always had a box full of everything. So what I highly recommend having, if you're making your own soil, having some kind of perlite, which pumice is more sustainable, but it works the same. It is more expensive though, so I will tell you that, but I like pumice better too, for more than one reason. One, obviously, because it's more sustainable, but also because I just feel like it does better in the soil than perlite. But perlite will have to do for now. You can buy big bags, different places, all sorts of different places. And then I also do cocoa chips. Now the cocoa chips are like, I can't even see them in here, but they're like literally like you get a square of block and then you break it up. And then there's peat moss, which cocoa peat is a better, more sustainable, so I've been trying to use that more. And you can get those also in blocks, and you put them in water, then it totally expands, so it's really kind of cool watching that. What else I put? I put orchid. A lot of times I like to get an orchid mix bag and I like to pour it in the soil as well. I have been out of that. So you could also use, in place of that, you could get some, let me think, the pine bark that you can get in big bags, but you want to get the smaller chips. You can get them like from Lowe's or from Menards or anywhere. And so much cheaper, like $3, $4 a bag, huge bag. You do have to break them up though if they're in bigger pieces. And that mimics the orchid bark. In addition, usually orchid bark mixes will have things like, it will have pumice in there already, but it also has charcoal in there as well. I really like the charcoal. I do buy charcoal on its own. A lot of times I will mix it in there, and that's supposed to help, I guess, filter the soil. So this isn't the best, my favorite soil, but it definitely will make it do for this. So here is an example. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is an example of like cocoa chips. They break apart like that, and they really help to aerate the soil and just make it so then it drains really well. I'm just going, and then here looks like, I can't tell if that's orchid bark or, this looks more like charcoal to me. This is what charcoal chips look like. And so you can see, you can also get smaller chips than that. I don't like the smaller as much, to be honest. I feel like sometimes I'll breathe it in and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. So when I'm pouring it in there, rock's not supposed to be in there, so take that out. All right, so next thing that I'm gonna plant in here, I'm gonna plant something a little bit taller in the middle because like I said, this is just gonna go on my deck railing. This is a, I can't remember the name of this, but it's more of a tropical type. And this was actually a propagation cutting that I had off of the main one. And it's just really super, it's easy to grow, but I always neglect it. I forget about it. You want to make sure that it has well draining soil for this. And this one looks okay. When you give it more light, it will get this brilliant pink purple color on the leaves. You can kind of see it a little bit. Of course, that's coming off, but you can kind of see it a little bit on the leaf there where it's like that purple, but it will get this really brilliant pink color. And I'm just pulling some of these off. So it's really pretty. I think actually it's a form of Tradescantia or like related to it, I think, but you can kind of almost see in there, it will get pink stripes. If you guys know it, I can't see the comments, but if you guys want to put what it is, I'm just gonna go and take some of these off there. But I do think this is related to the Tradescantia. And then the next thing that I'm gonna put in here, believe it or not, this is a petunia that I propagated. I was like, you know what? You spend so much money on petunias. This is a really pretty petunia that someone gifted me actually in a big pot. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to propagate it. I hadn't done that before prior to last year, and it worked. Now, a lot of them did not work that I tried to propagate, but I have several. I think I figured it out. It's a good balance between not too soggy soil, don't dry it out too much, but it cannot be soggy soil because it will rot. So it's kind of a fine balance, but I've got like 5 pots of petunias that I propagated, and they can look really ugly early on, but that's a lot of propagations. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this one just on the side here. Actually, we'll do it on this side over here. I did have a whole petunia propagation in a big pot like this last year, and it did great. It did wonderful. It was so beautiful. It had like pink flowers everywhere, and it's different when it propagated. After most of the time petunias, they're outside, you're done in a short period, and then or after a while, and then you go buy more the next season. But not, I don't know, it just, everything hit kind of a little bit differently with the petunias. So when I propagated them, so I really liked the way that it looked with the propagation. The next one I'm going to try here is a beefsteak begonia. Now this is so easy to propagate. I have so much of this. Begonias in general are just such a hardy plant, and there's so much variety, and that's why I like them so much, because I mean, there's so many different kinds and they all look so different, and they're just good. They're just steady plants. They're steady plants, and they do good indoors and also outdoors. Some people don't feel like they do as well indoors with them, but a lot of it has to do with humidity, and certain begonias don't need it as much. So that's definitely something you have to kind of see which kind you have. Let's see. Okay, so what else? Speaking of begonias, I got another one. This is an angel wing begonia. You got to look and see how beautiful This is a propagation. How beautiful the backside, underside. I've got some roots in there. These are weird. Sometimes these get really tall, but when I put them in a pot like this, I have to watch them really closely because I feel like they will rot really easily, super easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that one. Hopefully it does okay. The other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some Tradescantia, some other kinds of Tradescantia. This is a Zabrina Tradescantia. I'll probably wait till later to put that in just because I feel like the Tradescantia I try to put on the top. What else do I got here? I don't know. I think I've got some neon. Okay, so I've got some neon pothos. I like to put pothos in pots like this because it gives that trailing appearance, or not appearance. It's actually, there's the thriller spiller filler. I don't know if you guys heard of that before, but it gives the spiller, I think is what it would give. Like, so that's what the components of a pot. I'm not trying to do that with this specifically, but outdoor container pots, what makes them look good, that's kind of the formula, is what people say, what gardeners will say. So I don't know if you guys have heard of that before, but thriller, spiller, filler. So yeah, I'm not trying to do that with this, just trying to get some of the things potted up and see what works. So let's see. I've got, so this is another type of Tradescantia. This is, oh well, totally just broke that, but I'll just put that in there. Trying to see what else I've got here. Just looking at some of my propagations. Some of them don't look the greatest, but that's okay. I don't worry as much. I have so many propagations, I don't worry as much if I lose some. It's okay. Stuff happens. What is this? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I hesitate to, it looks like another Burl Marks, to be honest, but I don't know. It probably is. But maybe I'll put this one here on the other side to kind of balance things out. If it is a Burl Marks, it's got some good roots on there. So sometimes when they're small like that, I can't tell what they are. Here is another type of Tradescantia. You can tell what I have a lot of. This is a fuzzy type Tradescantia, and it does have a couple of roots, it probably needs more roots than that, but we're gonna go ahead and plant it. I'm gonna go ahead and plant it on the sides because this will be more of a spiller type one, and if it gets good light, then it will do really well. This stuff, Tradescantia in general, if you give it really good light, it is going to thrive. It breaks super easy too. I just broke one actually. And this one, it really does do well. Let's see what else I've got. I'm looking at my propagations. Here's another one. I don't know what this is. But it's propagating okay. It looks kind of pretty. I don't know if you guys can tell what that is. I can't tell, but I have so much of the Burl Marks that I always feel like it's the Burl Marks. It gets a little difficult when I start having to, like, if I'm doing more of like what I guess we call it like the taller stuff. If I plant that after I've done a lot of the planting already and put like the spillers and stuff like that, it's a little more difficult because I have to start digging down, and a lot of times when I'm digging down, I hit other roots. So I would always try to start, maybe if you can, with like the taller stuff first, and then really put the stuff that will like crawl everywhere later, because then you can get yourself into a mess with the roots. So here is another Tradescantia, different kinds. This is the Zabrina. It looks terrible, but that's okay. It will look great once it starts growing, if it does grow. The thing about Tradescantia is there doesn't have to be any roots on it for it to really take off, but it's obviously better if it did. Now I think I'm gonna probably stop there. Oh, actually no, I'm not. I've got a couple more propagations. Let me see real quick here. So no, we won't do that one. Just looking at the propagations that I have and seeing which one might work well. Well, I do have more of the Purple Night Tradescantia, which I'm just tempted to go ahead and put this in here, even though I think I've got enough of the spiller one. I'm gonna take and put it on the side. Some of these propagations, really, I'm just more about like, well, they need to get in some soil pretty soon here because they don't look like they're doing too great in the water. And changing your water out is important, but when you have a lot of propagations, sometimes it's like, okay, whatever lives, lives, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So that's kind of my philosophy. If it makes it, it makes it. So, but I like doing propagations at this time, so then if I want to start putting plants outside, indoor plants outside as annuals almost, even though I still will dig them up and use them again, I like to do that because then it gives me a lot of variety of things that I can plant outside that are basically free. I don't want to say it like that because it did cost at one point, but okay, I think that's all that I have for propagations for now. And then I'm going to take this outside. We do have a few colder nights that are coming up. So what I'll probably do with the colder nights here in the Midwest, is I'll either cover the plant shelves that I have outside on my deck, or I will bring the shelves in. But I can't wait to get my entire plant room out because it is just ready. My plants are ready. They're like, come on, spring, let's go. But you have to be careful when you take plants out. You really don't want to put them out when it's really anything under 55. But there are some nights that will dip below. So we have some days that are actually going to be like in the 80s, 70s and 80s. And then it's going to dip really low in the, even I think a couple nights we have the 30s. So you want to be very careful doing that. If you're going to put your plants out, you may need to bring them back in, or at the very least cover them up. But if it's getting down below 45, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't risk it. I would just bring your plants back in. So this is what I've got so far for the potting up. Like I said early on, is it doesn't always look the best sometimes when you pot stuff up because obviously it's got to get established and the roots need to sink their teeth in, or however you want to say it. But this will end up hopefully looking great. I probably will lose some of it maybe, but that's okay because I've got a ton of propagations. The biggest thing I would say probably is just make sure there's no like air holes or missing spots where dirt needs to be, because that is probably a big reason why some of these will not thrive, is because you'll have like, even like that area there, I probably want to fill in some dirt there. You don't want to like pack it super tight, but you should have at least some kind of soil in those parts that are a little bit lower down, just because when you water, you got to think more of that dirt is going to start flowing down, and then it's going to leave holes in that area wherever you have other plants. So I'm going to go ahead and put this outside, and thank you guys for joining along, and I will be back later.